Hello everyone. Today I'll continue sharing with you the story of the girl named Tu Sam. I hope you enjoy the video. Ever since the moment Tu Sam told him she was pregnant, it felt as if an invisible thread had quietly pulled Officer Lee toward a heavier, greater responsibility. During the day he still worked as usual, processing reports, patrolling the same familiar streets, but every time he paused to breathe, the image of Tu Sam placing her hand on her belly, her trembling smile filled with emotion, returned to him vividly. That night, after taking Tu Sam home and making sure she had eaten well and was resting comfortably, Lee finally returned to his small apartment. He sat down, unbuttoned his shirt collar and lowered his head, not because he was tired but because he was thinking a lot. He looked around his simple room and quietly wondered, so, I'm really going to be a father? A mix of happiness, worry and anticipation flooded him all at once, making it impossible to sleep. Lee stood up, took a small notebook from the shelf, and placed a blue pen on the table. He began to write, find a bigger, safer home. Cut down on night shifts so I can spend time with Sam. Save money for childbirth, prenatal and postnatal care. Prepare for the future, so Sam never lacks anything. The more he wrote, the firmer and stronger his handwriting became, as if his determination itself was solidifying with every line. Lee never said it out loud, but in his heart he had already considered Tu Sam his family a long time ago. And now with the baby, everything felt even clearer. He opened his phone and searched, how to prepare for the first baby, emotional support for pregnant women, homes near hospitals, safe neighborhood. Every page he read made his heart heavier, but heavy in the way love and responsibility often are. Lee imagined the coming months, imagined Sam being pregnant on her own, imagined her exhaustion, her simple meals, the nights she might feel pain and he wasn't there. Each thought tightened something in his chest. No, I have to change, he told himself. It was late, but his light stayed on. Lee leaned back in his chair, eyes on the ceiling, picturing the future. A home glowing with warm yellow lights, the sound of soup boiling in the pot, Sam calling his name, and a child toddling around. A family. For the first time in his life he truly yearned for that. And from that moment, Officer Lee quietly began a real plan. A plan to give Tu Sam a stable, safe and happy life. Not just as the woman he loved, but as the mother of his child, the woman he wanted to protect for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, from the moment the two faint lines appeared clearly on the pregnancy test, it felt like someone kept squeezing and releasing Tu Sam's heart over and over. A trembling, joyful, yet deeply fearful feeling washed through her. Pregnant. She was going to be a mother. But that wasn't what kept her awake. It was the question. Would Officer Lee accept this baby? That night, moments after Lee left her home, Tu Sam sat on the edge of her bed, resting her hand gently on her stomach. Her belly was still flat, but inside was a small, fragile life, completely dependent on her. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not because she was sad, but because she was scared. Scared of being abandoned again. Scared of fighting alone again. Scared that Lee would feel pressured. Scared he would say the three words she couldn't bear. I'm not ready. Her mind kept replaying the worst possibilities. What if he didn't want the baby? What if he stayed silent and slowly drifted away? What if he said, you decide, and left her to face it alone? Tu Sam had lived through too much loneliness to take such fears lightly. She knew what it felt like for a woman to raise a child alone. She knew the pain of morning sickness while clutching a phone waiting for a message that would never come. She knew the heartbreak of choosing between keeping her baby and keeping her dignity. The fear made her cover her face and sob quietly. Yet deep inside there was still a tiny spark of hope, because Lee had never abandoned her, never made her feel small. He had always cared, always stood on her side. It's just, she wasn't sure. What was good news to her might become a burden to him. All night she lay curled on her side, hand on her belly, eyes staring into the dark of her small room. She thought about the future. She imagined Lee holding the baby, smiling. She imagined a family dinner, something she's always dreamed of. Then she whispered to herself, if he doesn't want it, I'll still keep the baby, no matter how hard it gets. Those thoughts twisted inside her, tightening her chest. And right when she felt the weakest, a message from Lee lit up her screen. I made it home. Sleep early, okay? Don't forget to eat well. Just one simple sentence. But it made her whole heart tremble. She held her phone for a long time, her hands cold. Softly, she whispered, "Will you accept my baby, Lee?" The next morning, while Sam was still half awake after a long night of overthinking, the doorbell suddenly rang. She jolted up, quickly fixed her hair, and hurried to open the door. Officer Lee stood there, neatly dressed in a shirt, his eyes a bit tired from staying up late, yet still bright and steady. In his hands were a bag of breakfast and a warm bottle of milk. "You're awake?" he asked softly, his voice calm yet strangely warm. Sam blinked in surprise. "You came this early? Is something wrong?" Lee handed her the bag. "Eat something first. Then I'll take you to your prenatal checkup." Those words dropped into her heart like a clear, resonant bell. She froze. Her eyes widened, and her heartbeat chased itself so fast she couldn't speak. "The prenatal checkup? With you?" she stammered. Lee didn't smile, but his gaze softened noticeably. "Yeah, I thought about it all night. This is the earliest appointment I could find. I want to make sure you and the baby are both okay." Hearing that made her throat tighten. She quickly turned her face away to hide her eyes that were beginning to sting. Last night she had worried endlessly, afraid he'd reject her, afraid he'd pull away. But now he was the one taking her hand and leading her forward. Lee gently placed a hand on her back, voice low and resolute. "Let's go. I'm not letting you and the baby wait any longer." Sam gripped the bag tightly, trying to hold back the wave of emotion rising inside her. Her heart was warm to the point she could cry right there. At the clinic, while waiting, Lee kept one hand resting on the back of her chair. A quiet, protective gesture. Whenever he saw her fidget or tighten her hands from nervousness, he leaned in. "Are you tired? Feeling dizzy? You want some water? Are you cold? I'll get you my jacket." Sam could only shake her head softly, her eyes shimmering with emotion. When the doctor called her name, Lee supported her gently by the hand. And the moment the ultrasound screen lit up, a tiny glowing, like a little star, appeared inside her womb. The doctor smiled. "The baby is developing very well. Congratulations to both of you." Those words made Sam look at Lee confused, happy, overwhelmed that everything was really happening. Lee stared at the screen for a long moment, then quietly said, voice small but firm, "Hello, little one. It's Dad." At that moment, Sam's heart softened like water. Her fears, her loneliness, all the heaviness from last night dissolved into nothing. Only trust remained, in him, in their future, in the small family taking shape. She smiled as tears fell without her realizing. "Thank you for being here with me and the baby." Lee squeezed her hand gently. "I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere." At the baby store, after calming down, Sam stood among rows of tiny baby clothes, gently touching a pastel blanket. It all still felt unreal. Yesterday she was terrified the future would collapse. And today he stood beside her like a father who had been preparing for years. Lee walked along the aisle, lifted a beige onesie and held it up. "What about this one? Soft material, safe, no loose threads." Sam looked at the outfit, then at him, smiling without meaning to. "You actually pick really well." Lee cleared his throat and looked away as if embarrassed. "I just want the best for the baby." For the baby. Those two simple words made her heart flutter again. She stepped closer, hesitating. "Lee, honestly, you don't feel pressured?" Lee paused for a second, then turned fully toward her. His eyes were deep, steady, absolutely sincere. "Of course I do," he answered without hiding anything. "I'm scared. Scared I won't be good enough. Scared you two will suffer. Scared I won't be prepared in time." He reached out and gently held her hand. "But leaving you to handle everything alone? That scares me more." Her throat tightened again. Lee continued, voice warm and firm. "I won't abandon you or the baby. Not now, not ever." In that instant, a thick layer of ice inside Sam finally melted. All the loneliness, the old memories of being left behind, the uncertainty. Everything softened in front of this man's sincerity. She nodded lightly, voice soft as a breath. "I trust you." Lee squeezed her hand. Not hard, but just enough to let her know he was truly there. On the way home, Lee carried the baby shopping bag carefully. as if it contained the most fragile thing in the world. The late afternoon sunlight warmed the street, and a gentle breeze lifted a few strands of Sam's hair. Lee glanced at her, then quietly asked, "Do you want to stop anywhere else? I'm free the whole day." Sam laughed. "You're treating me like a patient." Lee replied calmly, "Not a patient. My future wife who happens to be pregnant." She froze. Her heart thumped painfully sweet inside her chest. Her face flushed instantly. "Future wife?" she stuttered. Lee opened the car door for her and lowered his voice. "Yeah, I just haven't said it officially." Sam couldn't look at him anymore. But her smile was unmistakable. Back at Sam's home, Lee brought the bags inside and placed them neatly on the table. Sam stood nearby, watching him move around like a longtime husband, feeling a warm, strange sense of belonging. "Take a rest," Lee said, pulling a chair out for her. But as soon as she sat down, he suddenly paused and gently placed his hand on her belly, so softly, so carefully, as if afraid to hurt her. "Do you feel anything uncomfortable? Any pain?" Sam looked at his large hand resting on her, then at his worried face. She smiled. "No, I'm fine." Lee exhaled like he had just avoided a disaster. He sat down in front of her, leaning forward, eyes full of focus. "From now on, you tell me everything. If you're tired, say it. If you feel unwell, tell me. I won't let you handle anything alone anymore." "Okay." Sam nodded softly. Her voice was small but certain. "Yes, I know. I have you now." Lee looked at her for several quiet seconds, his gaze growing gentler, filled with love, worry, respect, and something deeper. Then he said slowly, clearly, "I want to move in so I can take care of you." Sam froze. Her heart slammed against her chest. You're serious?" "Yeah. I worry too much leaving you alone." She lowered her head, fingers twisting together, ears red from embarrassment, but her voice carried undeniable joy. "If you want to, then I agree." Lee looked at her and smiled, a rare smile warm enough to melt her entire heart. "Then tonight, I'll go pack my things." In the days that followed, Lee took care of Sam even more attentively. He never let her lift anything heavy, always reminded her to drink water on time, and even cooked chicken porridge with his own hands to bring to her every evening. Seeing all of that, Sam's heart softened bit by bit. Yet she still had no idea that behind all his tenderness was a huge secret Lee had been keeping. The new house he was building for her, and the baby was getting closer and closer to completion. The glass doors had already been installed, the front yard had been cemented, and in Sam's bedroom, he had ordered a custom-made wooden bed with a special mattress to prevent back pain for pregnant mothers. He even bought a warm golden night lamp so she wouldn't have to wake up in total darkness like she used to in her old home. One afternoon, after the workers left, Lee stood alone in the baby's room. The walls were painted a gentle pastel shade, with a tiny crib placed in the center. Above it hung a mobile of plush animals spinning slowly, the one he had ordered weeks ago. He touched the crib rail and imagined a tiny baby sleeping there. Then he imagined Sam standing beside him, leaning on his shoulder, holding their child. A life he never dared dream of, but now longed for more than anything. He exhaled softly and told himself that in just a few more days, he would bring both mother and child home. That night, when Lee returned, he found Sam folding clothes. She looked more exhausted than usual, her face pale, but she still forced a smile at him. He immediately set his things down, rushed to her side, and reminded her not to push herself when she was tired. Sam lowered her head and whispered that she didn't want to trouble him. Lee took her hand and said she wasn't troubling him at all. If anything, he was afraid she wouldn't let him take care of her anymore. Sam gently leaned her head on his shoulder, one hand unconsciously resting on her belly like a natural instinct of a mother protecting her child. That moment made Lee want to reveal everything right then and there, to tell her that everything was ready, that the house was waiting, that all she had to do was nod and he would take her there immediately. But seeing how tired she was, he held it back. He helped her lie down, tucked the blanket around her, and sat beside her until she fell asleep. As she breathed softly, he placed his hand on her belly and whispered that as long as she stayed healthy, he would take care of everything else. One weekend morning, Lee received a call from the contractor saying urgent paperwork needed his signature. He hurried to change clothes and told Sam he had to step out for a bit. When she asked where he was going, he simply replied he had something to take care of and would be back soon. She watched him for a long moment. Something in her chest felt uneasy, but Lee only pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead before leaving. After he left, Sam sat quietly by the window. Lately, he had been stepping out unexpectedly, often returning looking tired. She didn't suspect anything bad, but the worry slowly seeped in. Just then, Lee's forgotten phone vibrated loudly. A new message appeared on the screen. Townhouse project. Need to adjust the paint in the baby's room. Sam froze. Her heart stopped, then pounded wildly. With trembling fingers, she opened the message. It was from someone saved as contractor Uncle Dung. Her legs felt weak. Lee was building a house. And not just any house. There was a baby's room inside it. Who was he building it for? She didn't need to think. The answer pulled her in immediately. Sam placed a hand on her chest, her breath shallow and uneven. She didn't know whether to cry or laugh, whether to call him or stay silent. All she knew was that tears were already streaming down her cheeks. Not from sadness, but from an emotion so overwhelming she could hardly breathe. She hugged the phone to her chest, sinking into the chair, feeling like the world around her suddenly became warm to the point of dizziness. That man had been silently preparing a real home for her and their baby. After reading the message on Lee's phone, Sam sat silently for a long time on the small chair by the window. A gentle breeze made the curtains sway softly, but inside her chest a storm was raging. Tears kept falling no matter how many times she wiped them away. She didn't know how she was supposed to react to such a truth. A new house, a baby's room, a plan Lee had never told her about. Everything was for her and the baby's future, yet he chose to carry all of it alone, quietly, without burdening her. Sam placed a hand over her belly, her voice trembling as if speaking to the little life inside her. Your father. Why is he doing everything by himself like this? She wasn't angry. She just felt an aching tenderness for him. That man was strong in front of the world, but when it came to her, he bore everything in silence. He planned, he worried, he built their future brick by brick, all while trying to spare her every bit of hardship. Time moved painfully slow. She sat waiting, fingers intertwined tightly, eyes fixed on the door. Every sound in the hallway made her jump. By late afternoon, the soft click of a key turning in the lock echoed through the room. Lee stepped in, dust still clinging to his shirt. He paused, surprised to see Sam sitting right there, like she had been waiting for him for a long time. Sam? You've been sitting here this whole time? How are you today? Are you tired? He didn't finish. Sam stood up abruptly. Tears spilled down her cheeks right in front of him. Lee froze, worry slamming into his chest. Sam? What's wrong? Are you hurting somewhere? He rushed to her, cupping her face gently. Sam shook her head, grabbed his hands tightly. Her voice trembled, breaking apart. Why did you do everything alone? Why didn't you tell me? Lee stiffened for a split second. There was no hiding, no explaining away. One look into her tear-filled eyes told him. She had found out everything. He let out a slow breath, his expression softening. You saw it. Sam didn't answer. She simply stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him, tightly, desperately, as if confirming he was real and not something she had imagined. Lee lifted his arms and held her close, his heart melting instantly. I didn't want you to worry, Lee murmured, his voice low and warm. I was afraid you'd overthink, afraid you'd get tired. I just wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted you and the baby to never lack anything. Sam pressed her face against his chest, her tears soaking into his shirt. But I don't want you to be strong all by yourself. I want to worry for the baby with you. To build this life together with you. Lee tightened his arms around her, lowering his forehead gently to her head. I'm used to it. Used to handling everything alone. But I didn't realize that doing that would hurt you. She shook her head, voice quivering but filled with sincerity. It doesn't hurt. It just makes me love you even more. So much I don't know what to do. Her words stunned Lee completely. He held her even tighter, as if wanting to hold the entire world in his arms. After a long moment, he lifted her face and wiped her tears with his thumb. Tomorrow I'll take you to see the house. No more hiding. Sam gazed at him, her eyes still red but glowing with warmth. You promise? Lee smiled softly and kissed her forehead. His answer clear. Yeah, I promise. She rested her head against his chest, listening to the strong, steady beating of his heart. In that moment, both of them knew their future had just stepped into a whole new chapter. The next morning, Lee woke early and prepared everything. When Sam opened her eyes, he was already sitting beside her, holding a warm cup of milk. His gaze was gentle as always, but today there was a hint of nervousness beneath it. Sam took a sip and looked at him with a small, knowing smile. So, where are you taking me today? Lee didn't answer right away. He simply smiled, helped her with her jacket, and held her hand as he guided her to the car. Throughout the ride, Sam sat quietly, fingers lightly gripping the seatbelt. Lee kept glancing over, checking if she was tired. The air inside the car was silent but not heavy. More like the quiet before something important. Something that made both their hearts beat a little faster. When they arrived, Lee parked in front of a brand new iron gate. He stepped out first, then opened her door with deliberate care. Sam climbed out, her legs slightly trembling, not knowing what awaited her behind that gate. Lee looked at her with a softness he rarely showed. Come with me. He took her hand, warm, steady, and Sam immediately felt safer. He opened the gate and led her down a freshly paved stone walkway. The early sunlight reflected off the tiles, making the path shimmer softly. Then the house appeared before her. A simple yet breathtaking two-story home painted a gentle cream white, with large glass windows to welcome the light. The front yard had small flower beds, flowers she knew Lee must have picked himself. A soft breeze rustled the wind chime on the porch, playing the exact kind of sound Sam once said she loved. Sam stopped in her tracks. Her entire body went still. Is this? Her voice cracked. Lee didn't answer with words. He stepped beside her, held her hand, and said quietly, "This is your home." Just those 4 words made her eyes burn instantly. She lifted a hand to her mouth as tears streamed down faster than she could stop them. Not tears of sadness but of overwhelming emotion. So powerful it felt like her heart was melting from the inside out. She looked at Lee with trembling, tear-filled eyes. You really built this for me and the baby?" Lee gently wiped her tears, his voice deep and steady with sincerity. "I want you and our baby to have a place that's safe and warm. A place where you'll never have to endure or worry about anything again." He placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze so unwavering it made Sam's own heart tighten. "I'm not good with fancy words, but I know how to build. And I want to build a life where you'll never have to be alone again." His words hit her heart harder than anything ever had. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him, her shoulders shaking with emotion. I don't even know what to say. I never thought I would be loved like this." Lee embraced her, one hand around her back, the other gently on her head, holding her as if shielding her from the whole world. He whispered softly, "You don't have to say anything. Just live here with me. That's all I want." Sam pressed her face into his chest, her voice trembling with joy. I will. Lee smiled, kissed the top of her head, and took her hand as he led her inside. When the door opened, warm sunlight spread across the spacious living room, where the scent of new wood mixed with the soft morning breeze, filling the space with a sense of peace that felt almost unreal. And there, standing inside the doorway, Sam cried again, because this wasn't just a house. This was Lee's heart, poured into every brick, every window, every breath of their future.
Xin chào mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Chúc mọi người có một ngày mới vui vẻ, hạnh phúc và một ngày làm việc tràn đầy năng lượng. Câu chuyện hôm nay mình mang đến cho mọi người kể về tự Sam và cảnh sát Ly. Và sau khi cảnh sát Ly nghe tin tự Sam có em bé thì anh đã chuẩn bị mọi thứ thật chu toàn để chuẩn bị đón chào đứa con đầu lòng của họ. Và cảnh sát Ly và tự Sam sẽ tổ chức đám cưới như thế nào, hai người sẽ bàn bạc và tiến tới hôn nhân ra sao thì mọi người cùng đón xem ở video tiếp theo nha. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay của mình. Rất hy vọng mọi người ủng hộ kênh của mình trong thời gian sắp tới. Và mình hy vọng là mọi người có thể để lại cho mình một nhận xét ở dưới phần bình luận để mình có động lực ra nhiều video hơn. Cảm ơn mọi người và hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở video lần sau nha.